Yogi Clan, what is up, y'all? Welcome back to Yogi Cycle Service. So, I am editing some video right now, and this video, I feel like I need to give you an explanation before I release this video. So, this video series on the Nomad broken oil gear started probably about 2.5 years ago when this bike arrived at my house. And I don't know, no excuses. But in July of 2019, I released the first video on it, and that was really prepping everything, stripping the engine down, getting ready to pull it out of the frame. I thought I recorded pulling it out of the frame, but I don't know where that footage is. So I went on to episode number 2, which was actually released about 3 weeks ago on December 16th. In that video, you saw Chuck and I, because Chuck has been instrumental in helping me out on this project with his knowledge of motors. And this is the first time I've really ever torn into a motor by myself. Kind of wanted Chuck by my side. So Chuck helped me tear down this engine. We have torn down this engine, split the case in half, and at the end of the video, you saw me scraping off the gasket material on episode number 2 of the Nomad engine series. The whole reason why we're doing this is because Kawasaki put a plastic oil gear for their oil pump. Over time, that oil gear has pretty much disintegrated, no teeth left on it, no pump of the oil, engine gets no oil light comes on, shut that bike down. Well, the only way to get that gear out is to either one, drill a hole and go in through the side, because the gear is basically on the outside of the engine case, but it goes through, a shaft goes through to the inside of the case where there's a washer and a retaining ring to hold that gear in place. So the only way to get that retaining ring and washer off is either cut a hole in the side of the case, go in there with like some kind of camera type device and whatever, and get that pin and washer off, pull the gear out, put a new gear in, and then weld that back up, or you pull the engine out and split the case, which is what we did and what we're doing in this video. So this is part number 3 of the video series, and in this video we're going to be putting this case back together. The next series, video 4, we're going to be putting the top end of the engine on the case. So as of today is January 12th, we pretty much got the engine just about done. So I figured it's time to do and edit this video series and get this video series out there. I need this bike done and the heck out of my garage and returned back to its owner in Pennsylvania. So we are getting this close to getting it finished, so I figured it's time to go ahead and put this video series out there. So yes, episode 1, prepping to remove the engine. Episode 2, the engine is out, let's go ahead and split the cases. Episode 3, put the cases back together. Episode 4, we're going to put the top end of the engine on. Episode 5, we'll put the engine back in, and then we got more stuff to do to this bike, because I know the brake calipers are frozen on it. Those are going to need to be fixed. I know the battery's dead, it's going to need a new battery, and a host of other things. So stay tuned. Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoy this. I'm going to try to make these videos a little fun. This footage is like really old. And I kind of have music playing in the background while we were working. So to avoid copyright strikes, I kind of need to cut out a lot of what our conversation was. So I'll try to do the best with it that I can. So if you have a oil gear that's a problem in your Nomad, you can at least see what we did and give you some ideas and food for thought. But definitely download the manual. There are free manuals out there on the web. If you can't find one, shoot me a message. My contact information is below. I got one for a 99 Nomad. I'll shoot it to you, share it to you on a Google Drive or something like that. That way, if you want to tear into your bike like we did on this one, you can do it too. All right, y'all. Thanks for joining. Catch you soon. All that. All of this.
Yeah.
Just for that.
And if they did that, we wouldn't have had to do this. All right, new gears hand. We're down Miller time.
Time to go home. Unbelievable. All that work for that.
is kind of our next step in getting
the
timing chains and getting...
I think that we have to put the jugs on. I think the jugs have to go on, and then the heads to get the timing before we put any of the other covers on. And that's kind of what we got to do, is build it up here and then build it out.
So, question. I talked about on my Fat Boy coming down to here to replace seals and gaskets.
Right.
Because I know I got some leaks up the rocker covers up here. Now, down here, I don't think I have any. Can I disassemble all this, put new seals in it, and then reassemble it? You had mentioned something about putting new rings on pistons and all that.
You talked about Miss Piggy having 50,000 miles on her.
Yeah.
You're probably getting to that point where rings would be a smart thing to do. Rehome the cylinders.
These right here.
Yeah. Replace the cylinder rings, rehome the cylinder so it seals again properly and get that mileage out of it. The difference between this and an Evo, or even the twin cam, if memory sets right, you can remove the rocker boxes without removing the cylinder head or the jugs.
Yes.
So you can replace all the rocker box gaskets and not affect the head gasket or the cylinder or the lower base gaskets. Where I believe this one, we were able to, but we still had to remove stuff because
you had the cam on the top.
Right, because
like mine has the valves on the top.
Right, but this has the cam sits in here, and then this sat over the cam.
Yeah.
And then the
rocker,
and then the head bolts come through here. So to remove this, you got to remove the head bolts. Once you've disturbed that, you have to replace the head gaskets and base gasket. Okay. On Harley, you're not disturbing the head bolts because this all comes apart individually. So if this gasket was leaking on here, this lower gasket was leaking on here, you would have to disassemble everything to replace that gasket. Where on an Evo, this stays on there, and the head bolts bolt from here down, not the next piece down.
Gotcha.
So, if he has a base gasket leaking, yes, then all that's got to come apart. But if you're thinking about just fixing the oil leak on Miss Piggy,
just take the rocker box.
Just take the rockers off. Because my personal thought is, if you're going to go that far, you might as well do all the steps, because you're just
right.
You're already there. To do it again, you got to do it all again. It's not like you could do part of it again later. Right. So,
well, and that was the debate about my stator in my primary. Of while I'm there, since it had 100,000 miles on it, while you're there, might as well spend the $100 and throw a new stator in it.
Right.
But when I looked at it, the coils didn't really look discolored. They still had a nice even color to them all, where when I look at the stator on this one, I think there's two stators.
Yeah, yeah, this is a double.
So the stator on this one, you can clearly see these are all brown and charred looking, and then the bottom half looks different than the top half.
Yeah.
And this side over here, I think it looks even worse.
We got a couple on this side too.
A couple that look kind of crispy.
Yeah.
And that's not how Miss Piggy looked. It looked the same throughout it all. So that's why I made the comment of, looks good to me. And true, I think the only way really to know if it's good is to put a meter on it and check for continuity through it to see.
Well, the continuity, even if it's burned, it can still have continuity. It's the load that makes it.
Or whatever.
Yeah. It's when it gets loaded, trying to restart a battery or recharge a battery that's low, that puts the.
And I guess on a Harley, I would unplug the front where it goes to the voltage regulator when it's running, and
you're
test
looking,
it when it's running.
There you're looking for AC voltage.
Yeah.
So, and that's what your regulator.
And if we were to fall within spec, then I would say, yeah, I looked at the color, the AC voltage falls within spec, so I think it's fine. We'll just leave it.
I know we've had a couple guys in the club that have had.
Dobie lost his.
Dobie lost his. Hillbilly lost his. Didn't Jerry have an issue? Maybe. But I'm not saying that this is what the problem was they had, but a lot of times these go bad because the battery is low. So this is working harder to get that battery charged back up.
Because of a weak battery.
Right, a week, keep extending that battery like, oh, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good. Well, this has to work to keep that voltage.
Dobie made the comment that the dealer told him that one of the reasons why his stator went out is because of his cord where you would plug in to keep the battery charged, that he was running his heated gear off that same line, which was not direct to the battery, but there, I guess there's like a pigtail that comes off through his fuse block that the charging thing plugs to, so he was plugging his heated gear into that instead of a pigtail directly off the battery, so it's putting too much of a load on the battery.
It was probably, there are computers in the new Harleys, and I know his is a 2018 or
18 or 19, yeah.
And one of the things they do to increase fuel mileage is they turn the alternator off because it takes power to run your alternator. So they turn the charging part of the alternator off. So they know when they engineer this that it's not going to run at 100% duty cycle like my shovel head. It runs all the time. So they reduce the massiveness of it. So, because they know that it's going to run and it's going to shut off, and it's going to run and it's going to shut off. And it'll shut off for longer periods of time than what they would have before. If the load's not there, they're very sensitive to load. So he put on a load with heated gear. Now that alternator's working much harder.
But if he ran it directly off the battery...
Now, because it's going through the computer, it might see the voltage differently. I don't know. I'm not up to snuff on that. It might see the voltage differently than if the load's directly off the battery, if it's coming off the other side of the fuse block.
Right. That's what I think the problem was. So I think he's now running a dedicated pigtail off the battery, and he hasn't had any more problems with his stator.
That's another one that is a big killer of stators, loose battery connection, because that thing is working overtime trying to keep that battery charged, because like the bike you did a year and a half ago with the loose battery connection,
the melted terminal, that is death for
a stator. Now, like my shovel head, it came factory with a 15 amp charging system. That was what it did. And the charging system only activated after 2100 RPM or something. The RPM had to be up before it would work.
So when you're sitting at a light, you're not charging.
You're not charging. Now, the new system that I put on, which was the upgrade and all that was available, is 31 amps, and it charges from 800 RPM up.
So mostly on up.
Yeah, idle on up.
So I noticed that in my it's not new, it's 2017, my Chevy pickup truck. One time, right after I first got it, I was driving down the road and I looked, and the battery light was at 9, or maybe between 9 and 10. I was like, oh my gosh, it's a brand new truck, and the alternator's out on it already?
Yeah.
And I'm driving down the road, and I look at it, like I get close to home, I'm freaking, and I look at it again, and it's up to 14. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And then it'll go back down to 9. And
the best way to describe it is like air conditioning in the car. It'll turn on for a while, and it'll turn off, and it'll turn on, and it'll turn off. If there's a heavier load, it runs much longer. When you first get in it, trying to cool the car down, it runs and runs and runs. But once it gets stabilized, unless you keep it on max like I do, then it'll cycle.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with the charging system. But usually these burn out because of something else. They typically don't burn out age or mileage. Typically isn't a reason. Something else created that problem. Nothing touches. You got the stator and then the rotor, and nothing touches it. So it's not like it's a wear item.
Right.
It's just the heat that gets in there and what goes on. Another one that does it on the Harleys is low oil in your primary, because that oil helps cool
it off.
It's part of the cooling. Now on my shovel head, it's an open primary, so it's just in the air all the time. And it doesn't have a load. I got a headlight and a tail light and 31 amps. I'm going to go weld something together with it.
So is that necessary?
With this, it will not hurt. on
It
this.
just takes off like surface rust.
Yeah, I mean you could hone a cylinder out with that, you know, to a larger size. It would take a long time to hone it. A little bit of something to start with there, especially being that it has some rust in it, and these rings are not the freshest. It'll give it a fighting chance.
You gotta forgive me. I feel useless.
I did this for 13 years, so
I feel more like I should just be standing here and watching and learning. I am learning about motors, and I don't have any of those cool tools. And that just keeps it all together.
yeah, that
Keeps the rings centered and stuff.
Yeah, there's ones that are full circle. If we were to do that, we couldn't get it off once we got the cylinder down.
Right.
So this one's split.
That way you
So
can
it's
slide
got
it down and pull it off.
Right, it's got this clamp pliers that.
So that'll keep these rings centered on this piston.
Right, it'll compress the rings so we can get the cylinder down.
On top.
Right,
Because
because
then they, after you take that off, they open
Yeah.
it up to form the seal.
right, and although there is a small chamfer,
Right.
it's not really enough to get to
You-
work
you'd
the
be
ring back
fighting
in.
it.
Yeah, a lot. Process of getting the proper ring seal and not breaking a ring when you put it together and all that. That's where the difference between somebody who does it all the time and somebody who tries to do it once. You'll hear, I know it's real common.
Hence more problems I would get into if I decide to go down to here on Miss Piggy.
Right.
So very gentle not to crease, huh?
Yep, don't want to crease it. And you shouldn't have to put sealer on these because that shiny stuff is its own sealing lubricant because everything moves, and if you make it solid, when it goes to move, it'll crack it.
They might have been, they were paper though, weren't they?
Yeah.
Because these are the upper ones.
Yeah, we scraped them off because they did not survive. Yeah.
One step closer.
One step
So we
closer.
can put these two acorn nuts
Yeah.
loosely on there.
Yep, now hold that still.
So that there is our video on putting the cylinders and the heads on. And then we'll pick up in the next video
with the
doing
valve train.
doing the cams and the top end.
Yep,
On
cams.
the next video, and then maybe the video after that we can then the next video we can start doing
The side
the
cover.
transmission, the
Right.
primary, and
Yep,
water pump and all that good stuff.
yep.
So we'll call that good for tonight. Later.
Later.